you're watching How Sparks Make a Worldwide. Like, subscribe, support the show, give a thumbs up. Just do the thumbs up. Just do it. I can't see my chat right now because something's funky. Something's funky. I'm going to look on here just to see if I can say hi to you guys. Let's see. I'm going to chat it too. And the thing with the do. And apparently not. They go, hey, there we go. All right. Okay, is it working? What? Hold on. Not now. Curious. I see. Something's funky. We shall see. Give me 1 second. Whoops. There we go. Do this chair. Yeah, encoder settings are being weird. Got it. Okay, cool. And then the chat room would be where? Okay, that comes up, but somehow the chat doesn't. That's very, very odd. Yeah, it doesn't want to come in. Lots of funky internet stuff going on these days, kids. Super fun. We got another Chinese spy balloon. That's what I'm going with. Okay, anyways, love you guys. Continuing to soldier on. How are we doing in the viewership department? What kind of numbers are we looking at? Somebody view analytics. So look at that real quick to see what the stream is like. So you can see how it's going on there and the bit rate and the stuff and the whole thing, and then the keyframe interval, and we're doing all right as far as internet, it says. Checking our stuff, viewers, what's happening. We'll come up with here in a second. Look at that. 206,000 watch minutes because you guys are friggin' awesome. 2009 current people in here. Followers wise, I don't even know where that comes in. And then we go to chat messages. Where is this stuff? Okay, cool. Let's open up the chat in a separate thing, and it's loading and it's being weird. Okay, cool. Hey, look at that. 66,000 chat messages in the show already. Like, holy smokes. That's just crazy pants. You guys are wonderful. Okay, chatter, chat is streaming. Okay, cool. This is going to be a stream at the stream. Okay, here we go. Let's do this. We'll figure out all the tech stuff later. What's working is working, and we will count our blessings. And this is Glenn Beck's Biden's SOTU was the most bizarre one I've ever seen. Cool.
Bizarre things I have ever seen.
Yeah, I already said that part. Also, you know what? We've decided we're not going to have dessert. So if you could just give us the check and we'll get the fuck out of here.
Our president was laughed at. Our president was lost and bewildered.
Were you watching one of Trump's old ones, or?
There were parts of the speech I literally could not understand.
Well, that's a comprehension issue that you're going to have to deal with on your own, sir.
I've never seen anything like it. He introduced spending and control that is way beyond anything the United States of America has ever done.
Not even close to true. Obviously, the highway program and the military buildup around World War II, much less the fucking COVID expenditures, not even close. Just this is gobbledygook.
No mention of why we've spent $100 billion on Ukraine.
Because you have to follow along and give a shit about human life. Why would you need it explained to you at this part of the game? Did the same person who's been attacking Sarah Huckabee Sanders with a fucking 2x4 and making her forget all of her favorite moments been attacking you as well, sir?
But, you know, no answer on why we're doing it, what exactly we're doing, just that...
Again, are you fucking new?
We're committed from here until the end.
Yes. On behalf of Ukraine, we're committed. Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
I know, because you're an asshole and you don't care about mass graves or Wagner Group rape squads, or if Vladimir Putin takes this as an entry point to go into Moldova or fucking Poland or cut Georgia in half or actually bomb fucking Kazakhstan for giving him lip. The fuck?
About half of it, I felt like he was saying Trump was right. I mean, all of a sudden he was
And by the way, this is the crazy pants
America
part.
first.
It's almost as if you haven't been paying attention to that either.
It was bizarre.
It's wild.
China, our greatest national security adversary. He used to laugh at that. Police need more funding, not less. Well, we got to have that funding so we can attract the best cops and provide the best training. Wait, what?
Yeah. You're thinking, again, this asshole likes to lump all the Democrats in the primary season together and think that because Biden is sympathetic to the cause of police violence and solving it, that also means he's in bed with every other thing that's been thrown up as a solution or a continuation or an increasing of the problem, depending on your opinion of it, that everybody else fucking threw out. And he didn't. Remember, these assholes thought Trump was going to run to the left of Biden because of the fucking crime bill.
Social media platforms like TikTok are a danger to our children.
Uh-huh.
And anything coming from China should be banned. Wait, what?
I don't know that he said anything coming from China should be banned. That's a weird note you wrote down, because I think they're still trying to deal with like material trade on some low-res goods, but
Buy American and American first, now apparently correct and moral.
he's been talking about that that was one of the first executive orders he signed, this motherfucker.
The U.S. debt is too high and has to be reduced to take the burden off our children.
Right. That's why he's lowering the deficit. That's why he's doing most of the things in terms of like Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, as far as costs, like negotiating drugs, will lower the cost of medical treatments and medical services and pharmaceuticals for the American citizens, so that ultimately we don't have to borrow money to patch the holes of the people who can't afford the very high prices. You bring the prices down, that's a hole you don't have to patch in the future, dumb fuck.
Now he's also talking about, at the same time, the most spending programs in our history.
Such as?
And
like what?
He then introduces that we're going to tax the rich some more for that.
No, he didn't introduce it. It already passed 15% minimum tax. Janet Yellen shopped that around to 15 other countries that these companies might run to try to use as tax havens, to make sure that they did the same fucking thing. It was the most, but beyond NATO, it was one of the most like tightly organized global initiatives the United States has ever spearheaded in economic terms.
Because
by the way, they showed Elizabeth Warren when he announced that 15%, and I was like, fuck you. Show Janet Yellen, because she's the one who went and whipped all these different countries and made sure that they would all be on board with this in the EU and elsewhere.
Because there's tax cheats out there.
Right, yes. Donald Trump, primary example. Just go read something.
Uh-huh. Is that going to pay for all of this?
No. Some of it will come because of the business that's actually created, because people have a fair shot at loans and other stuff, because those people are getting artificially ahead, and you can't get a loan, or I can't get a loan to start a business or build something because the bank only has a limited amount, and they're handing it over to fuckheads like Trump who are lying about the cost and the value of their properties.
He also said, now, I want you to really think.
Don't burst a blood vessel, Glenn. This might be the first time you've tried it.
Think on that.
Yes.
He said that from now on, 100% of building materials used in infrastructure and government construction projects need to come from America. Okay. If that were true, we'd have to open an estimated 400 new coal, copper, and iron ore mines, 100 new steel mills, 100 new aluminum refineries. Also, by the way, no. Glenn is looking at numbers about the total construction needs in the United States. Now, obviously, we will be in line, depending on the supply availability of a lot of things within the United States. But the government will pay what it needs to pay to get these things done because they're infrastructure projects. And other people will buy cheaper goods
all the believe me, the next Trump Tower, if there is one, will be built with Chinese steel or Russian aluminum or whatever the fuck sanctioned stuff they can get off of a boat in the middle of the fucking, Panama Canal. He's talking about if everything built in the United States would need that.
We'd have to cut down almost every tree in America.
Yeah, because of those wooden roads everybody wants. I mean, they look so cool, though.
By the way, part of our U.S. carbon emissions, the reason why they're 80% lower than they were in 1995, is because we outsourced all of that stuff.
No, our carbon emissions are not lower because we outsourced steel processing or copper mining. That happened because consumer vehicles have improved for decades here.
So now you want to bring it here in America.
Right, where American workers can dig it up and shit that Republicans have been for all this fucking time, and we can sell, the government will buy carbon offsets from green companies who provide energy and improve our electrical grid and the like as an investment to offset that amount of pollution, when they know for a fact that even if China promised to lower the output of doing it, if they do it in China, it's not going to help.
While reducing our carbon emissions to zero.
Right, but that's because we'll all be eating crickets, obviously. And pea protein, not urine, although I don't know what Glenn and Stu are into.
Going to happen. Check out the cobalt mines in Africa.
Yeah, we're not going to need cobalt for lithium batteries in this country for much longer.
Copper mines in South America. We outsourced all of our steel refinement to China, lumber to Canada and South America.
No, we didn't. We outsourced a lot of it, not all of it.
What would requiring 100% of $2 trillion of infrastructure spending do to our goal of reaching 0% carbon by 2050? There's no answer there.
Well, it certainly would knock off all the other countries where we would get this stuff where they pollute a lot more. So we know we give a shit about what goes into the air. We know they don't give a shit about what's going in there. Matter of fact, it's one of the reasons why China's creating so many coal plants. We, on the other hand, as we expand our smart grid, as we use more natural gas, and we set up, quite frankly, more nuclear, we will be running our electrical grid off of that. And then if there is coal or natural gas used for any of the plants that he's talking about, because they require enormous amounts of heat and the like, that's what they will be used for. But you won't need it for consumer electronics.
There's no answer.
Yeah, there is. It's actually in the fucking omnibus.
It's delusional thinking. What would it just do if to the prices of stuff at Home Depot, if the United States of America decided to buy $2 trillion a year? All
right, so Buy American is fucked, according to Glenn Beck. This is it. Buy American is not even, it goes beyond, it's just not possible to, the threat of Buy American is now an attack on, I guess, him personally. It's Biden is weaponizing Buy America to destroy the country. That's the theory.
Of all American product, you wouldn't have a chance of buying an American product.
Well, we are, well-to-do.
I wondered after he was making promise after promise what the Supreme Court justices thought. There were 4 of them that didn't show up last night.
They always don't show up.
I mean, if you're sitting there and you were at all constitutionally based, you were like, well, that won't stand up in court.
Yeah, well.
Over and over again.
Well, it turns out not to be the case.
Tax and a billionaire's only tax, unconstitutional.
No. It's progressive tax has always been around. The more you make, the more your tax bracket goes up. That's been around. It's been constitutional since the existence of the income tax period. What are you talking about?
Forcing non-profitable corporations to pay.
By the way, wasn't Steve Forbes talking about across the board 15% tax for fucking everybody? flat tax, right? 15, no matter how much you make, 15 right across the board, right? Wasn't that it?
15% of income, not profits, income. Not, it's unconstitutional. Setting the price at which items can be sold. No matter the manufacturing and business cost, no way, just setting the price. Unconstitutional.
On which thing is he talking about? Just prices. You're right. Biden, I missed that part in the speech where Biden said we're just going to do price fixing on all American goods going forward.
And then he was laughed at. Look, I understand. I'm not going to shut down all the oil and gas here in America, and people are saying that, and that's not true, because we are going to need oil and gas, I'm quoting, for another 10 years. Another 10 years?
Uh-huh.
You just doomed half the world to a slow and painful death from starvation.
No. We can still sell it. We just won't need it. If we don't use it, that's more you can sell to the people who do. Right? We just don't need to gack up our air and our water and stuff with it.
This was the most embarrassing moment I've ever seen in a State of the Union address.
Well, he got like several like standing ovations after that.
The world
apparently you're alone in this.
Is facing massive energy shortages.
Mm-hmm.
America is one of the largest energy producers in the world due to coal, oil, and natural gas. Russia's oil and gas production are...
Yeah, but we use 2 million barrels more oil than we produce. So we're getting it from outside the country anyways. We're buying it at whatever rate we can.
Are supposedly off the market for the next 10 to 15 years. So the developing world, they can't get it from Russia, can't get it from us. They'll die off without any energy and food production.
Yeah, it's all part of the depopulation scheme apparently put together by the WEF, and Biden's all in on it. He's trying to starve Africa and the Middle East and the like. That's why when he came in, he cut all foreign aid.
So to blind, everybody, he's delusional. He's so incredibly, I don't even know how a logical person
thinks. I understand. It must be bewildering you. You meet someone with actual logic, and you must look at him like the monolith in 2001.
Can even look at that speech and understand it other than there's something wrong here.
Yeah, that's basically what you would say.
No.
Again, I didn't know how he did it. I don't know how he was capable of doing it, but Glenn Beck is now outboring Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
No notion. He says the radical environmentalism, which he's pursuing, he says it's an existential threat that we have to take care of. No notion of how we're going to produce food and heat for the next, 8 billion people.
Well, we don't. We're the United States, but we can be part and parcel to the creation of new technologies that actually help with that kind of shit. And the idea that, here's an idea. What happens when people, let's say we got 12 billion people on the planet, when we run out of oil? Then what, Glenn? Then what? Coal-firing cars? What happens when we run out of coal? You do realize this shit is limited, and you can only set fire to so much of it. You wouldn't want to think up a solution that doesn't require the use of a limited resource?
What you saw last night was state-sponsored religion.
Oh, because climate stuff and gender stuff is a religion.
That's what you saw.
No. Well, I saw some bigots acting in a very unchristian way. But
he was the high priest. He came to the altar and expected you to bow down and worship at that altar.
I honest to God, This is the level of perception.
First ever American state-sponsored religion, because there's no logic to it. You just have to believe.
What do you do? Look, there's a logic to renewables because you're eventually going to run out of a resource. And it's also damaging to your own health and your water, and drilling for it creates a lot of other toxins and problems. So there's a logic to not using that shit, any longer than you absolutely have to. That would be the logic. Using it while you have to is logical. Using it a second longer than you need it is fucking lunacy. Where's the lack of logic?
Was also a little disappointed by Sarah
I told you, don't go to the men's room in the middle.
Huckabee Sanders' rebuttal speech.
Because it wasn't a rebuttal and it was boring as fuck.
I mean, it's good. She told a story.
Yeah, it was lovely. I had a piece of cake. It was lovely.
Setting, Trump up for 2024.
No, she wasn't. She didn't even mention his fucking name.
Given, passion plea for what makes America great. But it was not a rebuttal.
No, because they have to do their homework to rebut something. You have to actually look through the speech and say what you'd actually do. And they can't do that, dummy. It was a 14-minute diatribe on school choice in Arkansas.
She didn't rebut anything, any of the major points or policies in his speech.
You mean rebut?
It was
maybe that's a Montana thing. Do you rebut things in Montana?
As if she wasn't watching the speech.
No, she wasn't.
And I think that is a huge mistake.
Well, here's the other thing. They got a copy of it. They could have drafted what they were going to say, which is what you usually do, from the written version. Then you add on to your own stuff as you watch it. You go add a little something in. We got a couple minutes. Add something in there.
You can't pre-write everything.
Dude, that was pre-written in 2017.
I mean, I really like Sarah. I do.
However,
but the stump speech response from Republicans is just not enough.
Well, asshole, how are they going to rebut something they clearly don't understand? If it's clearly a madness and there's no logic at all, then the simple solution is clean logic. Go for it. Name the plans. Spell it out. Give $1. To every, the cost and the return you expect on every plan. Whip it the fuck out.
Imagine if we would have just deconstructed. You could have had GPT do it.
Well, yeah, but it wouldn't, because it's got a liberal bent and it obviously likes Biden. Have you been following anything?
Imagine if we could have deconstructed what Biden actually said.
Well, you'd have to have real policies. Ones that, by the way, that you could say out loud and not get drummed out of office. That's the problem.
The biggest applause lines, his biggest promises. Let me just throw a couple of these out at you.
Cool. Let's do it.
Imagine if she would have said something like, Mr. President, you keep saying, let's finish the job. We'd like to know what job it is you're trying to finish.
Well, it would be capping insulin, not just for everybody in Medicare, Medicaid, and on Social Security, but for every American in general. $35 a month, leave that there. Secondly, obviously the infrastructure stuff has just started. There's only been a few of the projects that have really gotten off the ground and started building. So a lot of them are in the design process, but as the year goes forward, there's going to be a bunch of this shit that's happening. And the jobs that we've, actually created in the last month are just the tip of the iceberg in terms of construction and factory workers. These things aren't even wound up. And I got news for you, fucko. They are going to be right as we get into the 2024 election cycle. And Biden is going to be running on a stronger economy and a bigger functioning manufacturing sector in the United States than has existed since the fucking 40s.
Because we don't see the benefits happening to the United States of.
Okay, gas prices are coming down, inflation's coming down, all caused by supply shock. Supply issues are being solved. Like that in and of itself. Shut the fuck up. And again, this is a guy who wants higher unemployment because it's better for people who are in the stock market and have never had to or never will hold a pickaxe in their hand.
Of America. It is almost as if you're trying to finish the job of the fundamental transformation and destruction of America.
Well, yeah, that's a cute phrase, and we know you're going to say it. It's terribly predictable, but nobody knows what the fuck you're talking about. Experientially, Glenn, I don't want to give you any fucking tips here, buddy, but you can't just complain about it in these exorbitant, hyperbolic, like you're writing fucking Twilight fanfic. You gotta, because people step out their fucking front door, and even the annoyances that their experiences don't even scale with what they were going through 2.5 years ago, and you know it. Like, even these people can't bullshit themselves this much. They have to stay indoors on social media, not talking to fucking anybody, to even become these QAnon fucking nuts. Because the minute they walk out and see people at a barbecue, like, if you believed anything that any of these assholes say about who runs the world and the conspiracies therein, you wouldn't touch a fucking doorknob or walk down a city street. Are you out of your mind?
But let's take you at your word. What you're suggesting we do as a nation via
is expand broadband so that every American has access to it?
Our government. I'm not sure you understand what your job even is.
Why don't you tell them? Why don't you tell them, Glenn? What's president? What does president mean? How do you present? Do you president on your own? Do you present you're presiding? You just preside. You're there early, and you're beside the thing, so you're presiding.
Based on what you just demanded tonight, that are all the things that our government should do. That's not your job. Here's
all right. Lowering the cost of insulin, all those, like, infrastructure, lowering unemployment. Why is that not his job?
what an intelligent person would have heard in your speech.
Okay, here's what an intelligent... I see. All right. Well, I'm sorry. I've been listening to him with my dum-dum ears on, and Glenn's going to set us straight.
Let's finish the job of violating the Second Amendment by disarming Americans.
Yeah, they're not disarming you. You just can't have assault weapons, fucko. Well-regulated militia, which means you got to tell them what kind of guns you have and sign up with the militia. You'll get to keep your guns, or we might have to keep them at an armory if they're too big. But ultimately, yeah, there's a limit. Well-regulated, fucko. Well-regulated, not regulated. It wasn't a regulated militia. Like, you know, we got to keep just keep a little file. A well-regulated militia. Tamp that shit down.
Preventing them from being able to defend themselves.
Why would you need an assault weapon to defend yourself? If you aren't killing cops and soldiers and large groups of your fellow Americans, what the fuck do you need an assault weapon for? And especially if you do desperately because you live, you know, there's a zombie outbreak and you're part of the country and it's a recurring one. They put down the first one, but you're really nervous. How about we give you a fucking permit? You can have an assault weapon for zombie use only. Jesus Christ.
Their families and their homes. I don't want to finish that job.
Yeah, nobody's doing that job, dummy. You're making that up out of whole cloth. That's why you think this is logic when it's a fart air fantasy conspiracy that exists only in your empty fucking
Let's
dome.
finish the job of violating the First Amendment by continuing to follow our first ever state-sponsored religion of radical environmentalism.
Huh?
Destroying our energy industry. Ultimately, massively depopulating the planet, dooming mankind to return, really, to the Middle Ages.
Well, no, mostly the Midwest, I would think, open up jobs. And again, you do realize this is a transition. And this is, you know what this boils down to? For a second, let's all lunacy aside. This boils down to Glenn and the people around him being unable to comprehend what net zero means. That net zero emissions, meaning that the emissions you do release are offset by the emissions you no longer have to release, and it kind of creates a parity. That's net zero. Eventually, with the idea that you don't have to do any emissions because what you're using to power everything isn't necessary anymore. You don't need that shit anymore. That's what net zero. These guys think net zero means zero, means on January 1st, 2050, lights out, motherfucker. That's what they think.
Let's finish the job of violating the 9th and 10th Amendments by going on government spending sprees, including free health care for all, free in-home disability care, free college for all.
Wait, free in-home disability care. Okay, first of all, providing for the general welfare and the common defense, there's a lot that falls under the two of those. But what a weird fucking thing to put a pin in. If somebody is at home disabled and they cannot afford to get themselves out of bed and go to the bathroom, as an American, do I have a fucking problem with us having a system under Medicaid set up to help that person? The shit? Yeah, he means Medicare and Medicaid.
A guaranteed job for anyone who wants one.
No one's guaranteed a job. There's job openings, but you got to do the job.
Which would lead to catastrophic hyperinflation.
Also, what the fuck? When did Biden say everybody's guaranteed a fucking job? When did this shit about us being proud of our low unemployment all of a sudden in this fucker's goofy head turn into like automatic UBI? Lord almighty.
Runaway debt. It would destroy everything.
Yes, which is why no one is suggesting it.
By the way, none of that is in our Constitution.
And it wasn't in the speech either. Weird.
Every single one of those was in the Soviet Constitution, however.
Communism. That's what it is. We're all headed towards communism. You give somebody a fucking crutch, through Medicare. You might as well live in old Russia now. You might as well live in the Soviet Union. You might as well just start carrying around your Mao's little red book.
Let's finish the job of what? Violating the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause by asking the top 1% of tax earners who already pay more than 40% of all taxes to pay even more, ensuring only that they're going to migrate out of the U.S. to.
Also, that's not the people, that's the businesses we're talking about. We're not talking about the individuals like Elon Musk and the like. We're talking about the people who, like the actual companies themselves, these giant multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies. And like I said, Janet Yellen has already whipped the other countries. They would have gone to Ireland like Apple did for a long time and had its corporate headquarters technically in Ireland. That's fixed. So they have a minimum 15% there now, too.
The countries that ask them to actually pay their fair share.
Yeah, but then we won't, if they jump past that, then we won't defend their, we won't put the entire force of the DOJ against protecting their intellectual property rights. Because we don't do it for the whole fucking world. We do it for American companies. If you're going to move out of the country, you could file for a trademark like any other foreign company.
It would destroy our tax base. Or is that why you were trying to finish the job overseas and convince every Western nation that we all had to lock our tax rates together?
So that they wouldn't, yes, that's why. So that they wouldn't feel like they could run someplace else to a country that would, we would service them, but they would have their office someplace else. Exactly. Like, he's saying it like a bad thing. That's why they coordinated it. Fucking hell.
Let's finish the job in what? Ukraine? Violating Article 1, Section 8, which grants Congress the sole power, that's a quote, to declare war.
We haven't declared war. We're not at war. You can call it a proxy war all the fuck you want, but that doesn't mean it's an actual war. We're helping Ukraine. That we could do. We do it all the time with Israel. You don't have a fucking problem with that.
Let's continue to fight.
This would be the clear thing. Is America at war with the Palestinians right now? In Glenn Beck's estimation.
$100+ billion per year proxy wars against Russia in
proxy war is not a legally recognized thing.
The Middle East, in Africa, Let's continue to drum up support for the next war against what? China?
Yeah, we're just going to, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. We Democrats, we just can't. That's why he shut down Afghanistan, so he could shuffle the funds around.
Let's finish the job of lying to our children that the goal of American life is and must be equity of outcomes.
It's not equity of outcome. Equity is both investment and everybody gets a shot at the starting line.
Instead of teaching them about individual responsibility, merit-based rewards for hard work, or
they're not mutually exclusive.
Personal achievement. No. Let's finish the job. Let's finish the job of further.
Now, by the way, we're now at the point where Glenn thinks he's giving the SOTU rebut.
Depopulating the planet by teaching young children that abortion is the answer to pregnancy.
Yeah, nobody's doing that.
If that is her or his whims.
Yes, that's what it is. Democrats are fighting for a woman's right to choose in a very difficult part of her life, in a very difficult situation, sometimes that would actually involve her, it could involve her own death, because we want people to be whimsical about abortion. Just like the border is open.
According to the equal rights of the unborn child, as if killing a 5-year-old is the answer to the inconvenience of being a parent or food shortages.
Oh, I see. This is the next phase of the Biden administration is going to be that we're going to have mandatory culling of 5-year-olds because we won't have enough grain. This motherfucker thinks we're like 10 minutes from Logan's Run.
Let's finish the job of what? Turning America into a socialist Soviet state? I refer you back to the Soviet Constitution.
No, apparently that's not part of it at all.
Where the government sets all the prices, takes over businesses, or you could go to the fascistic look where it's a public-private partnership. Their words, the fascist words, not mine, but strangely yours.
Also, the words of Donald Trump. If I may. Let's see. Why the Trump administration is relying on public-private partnerships to fund infrastructure. Let's see the other one. Let's see. Here you go. This is more in keeping with what you're talking about. Top Republicans break with Trump on public-private for infrastructure. Let's see. Steve Scalise said no. Says we ought to look at every option. The comments come one day after Trump met with Democratic leaders to discuss infrastructure proposals. They reached an agreement on the $2 trillion and then never could get it passed. But in the meeting, Trump reportedly referred to his administration's previous infrastructure plan, which called for, yeah, here you go. Trump trashes his own administration's infrastructure plan as stupid. This was my favorite. This was the Wednesday of the ongoing infrastructure week. Trump on Tuesday trashed his own White House infrastructure plan released last year, blaming his former top economic advisor, Gary Cohn, for drafting a proposal that was so stupid. Trump, meeting with Pelosi and Schumer, said he was never supported the proposal, calling for public-private partnerships because, quote, you get sued, according to a senior Democratic source who attended the private meeting. That was Gary Cohn bill. That bill was so stupid. The second, because that's why it was against. Not because it's communism, not because you're getting, we're going to be the old Soviet Union, but because you get sued.
Where they come in and they either take over the business or they partner with the industries to achieve social goals.
By the way, hold on. I think it was in Missouri. Yeah, Lake City Ammunition Plant. There you go. Let's see. 3,935 acre ammo plant in Missouri is owned by the U.S. government, run by private contractors. That would be one of those things you would call a public-private partnership. These guys never had problems with that before. As a matter of fact, they were buying the excess ammo from it and were enjoying how cheap it was.
Demanding they produce drugs or hearing aids or music, and then
drugs or hearing aids or music. Okay. Once the government starts producing music, I'm out. But drugs or hearing aids? And?
Sell them at a price that the government demands or decides is fair. I don't want to finish that job. Mr. President, I don't think you understand what finishing your job really means.
Well, no, it doesn't. But again, it does not mean what you think it means.
Because it seems like you don't even know what your job is.
What's his job? Tell him what his job is.
And it's weird because you've taken the oath of office several times. And your job, the job of the American government, is to ensure and protect the liberty and freedom of each individual man, every man, woman, and child. What is it from the Declaration of Independence?
So he's the captain of the you're on your own team. So again, this means no infrastructure, no standing army, no VA, no state rules about how many lifeguards there have to be at public beaches.
Oh, and governments are instituted among men to protect these rights. That's why in America
Yeah, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They're supposed to, basically be the nest by which you're able to do those things. Which if you're born deaf and the government can provide you with hearing aids for free, there's an element of, if you have them, now you can compete equally against everybody else who was born with hearing. Hence the whole disability in the home thing.
we even have a government.
By the way, this dude shopped for a religion with his wife because he wasn't religious and he thought he should raise his kids in a religion. And he chose Mormonism because as a dude, you get a planet.
Government. When you became a senator and then vice president and now president, you took an oath of office.
Yeah, and the voters listened to what he had to say and went, I want him to do that with our taxes. That's not socialism. That's democratic taxation. That's the function of the nation. We have priorities. We have a baseline. And once we operate above that baseline, we can improve the lives of everybody else. Stop acting like we live in the fucking Old West and we have to hang people at a fucking gallows at the end of the main street every weekend.
There was no mention of jobs for all, free college, free health care, destroying our industries to follow your party's chosen scientists' whim on energy policy.
Well, again, logically, you're going to run out of these non-renewable energy sources eventually. So it'd be nice to, if you do have to sell them to other people. Just make the money, and you don't have to smoke your own stash.
Perhaps you need a reminder of that oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah, that's the oath. That's not the duties, stupid.
By the way, the reason you have a veto is because you believe it to be unconstitutional. Not because you don't like it, but because you believe it is unconstitutional.
No. No. Presidents aren't vetoing things because they believe them to be unconstitutional. They're not waiting for the Supreme Court to sign off on stuff. Otherwise, we wouldn't have 3 co-equal branches. We would just pass a law, send it to the Supreme Court, and the president would have to sign it. That's fucking idiotic.
But how many presidents even remember that? On both
sides, nobody, because that's not how it operates.
Sides of the aisle. Let me ask you, Mr. President, when you...
He's not listening, by the way.
Stated your plan and your mission, do you not see it clearly violates the precepts and the text of the Constitution? And what?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't by any means. It doesn't. It's even a fucking reach to think that it does. This is fucking desperate.
What does that mean to you?
What does this mean to you, Glenn? I honest to God don't understand.
However, to give credit, where credit is due, you were right about one thing. We still do have a job to do. Except I think we should finish the job our founders started to ensure the blessings of liberty to ourselves
And make sure that wooden teeth are...
and our posterity.
Yeah, the blessings to our posterity might be that, hey, once you've got a basic structure like infrastructure, we don't have to build any more roads. We got a lot of people who need to work and that kind of stuff. And there are things that corporations or business people won't do or can't do on their own. The government is uniquely in a situation to better everyone's life. And that doesn't always categorically have to be in building fucking forts. You can build other stuff with it. You can build, and you don't even have to build it. You can literally partner with corporations whose, everybody who works there has the dream of building a particular thing, making the perfect hearing aid or whatever, and purchase them at a fixed price because you're a giant buyer.
That, sir, is the job. That is the job that is still left undone because it will never be totally finished, ever.
Well, that's not very hopeful, Glenn.
It's through human freedom and liberty and meritocracy that we will cure cancer. We will.
Right. He's not setting up like a department of cancer, motherfucker. The NIH and the CDC are partnering with universities, state schools, and hospitals to work together, to coordinate, not to centrally plan one path and go, we've all decided we're the government. Chemotherapy is the one and only path. They're saying, who's having the best results? Let's move funding and testing in a way until we really find the best way out of this. That's what the Cancer Moonshot's based on. It's exactly what he's touting.
We'll protect the environment, lower healthcare costs, plus we'll improve the economy and confront our enemies as they arise. Because that's what Americans...
Yeah, that's what we're fucking doing now, stupid.
...do.
Right, it's what we're doing. Most Americans support Ukraine. The vast majority support Ukraine and are for giving them material support. You're not. That doesn't mean it's a violation of the fucking Constitution. It means welcome to the minority, asshole. Everybody ends up there one day, and you just gotta suck it up. And by the way, unless you are an amazing orator, writer, or communicator in which you can convince everyone else why they're wrong and bring them over to your side. Which is why, welcome to the minority, fucko, because you're going to be stuck there because you don't have those skills. Dum-dum.
Every time there's a public-private partnership or government gets involved, it destroys the freedom.
Okay, first of all, then explain to me Boeing and Raytheon and fucking Winchester and Sig Sauer and, what are you talking about? Satellites, NASA? Are you stupid? What? This line from Reagan has metastasized. Talk about a cancer. This bullshit from Reagan about I'm from the government and I'm here to help you is the most frightening words you can ever fucking hear. Has metastasized into these motherfuckers having just governmentophobia, agoraphobia or something. They're just scared shitless of the idea of a coordinated society using its tax dollars for the priorities it thinks are most valuable at the time. That's all this is. It's not a fucking religion. It doesn't even mean everybody's right all the fucking time. Because sometimes the American people can prioritize the wrong thing because they're not getting the whole picture or because they're myopically focused on one particular thing. But it's not because there's fucking fluoride in the water and the Illuminati is telling us what to fucking do. Good Lord. It's just fucking pitiful. This is none of this. And look, socialism and communism, I'm going to go on record here, are both fucking stupid. They were both written and created as economic theories when there was less than a billion people on the fucking planet. They are absolutely useless as programs or governmental systems to actually aid the lives of this many fucking people of differing lifestyles on the planet. They can't handle it. It breaks under the weight of it. It was never going to fucking happen. We may come up with something in the future that's more like Star Trek, but it still ain't going to be those two things. And capitalism, as they describe it, And most, including assholes like this who are allegedly for it, even though they only seem to be for crony capitalism. Capitalism, as most people describe it, they're talking about resource capitalism, meaning I was born on some oil and you have to buy it from me, as opposed to the current form of resource capitalism, which is between your fucking ears. That the information age and the technology age are leading to a situation where increasingly everybody has a gold mine between their ears if they give a shit and can think of something that can help their fellow person or better their lives or make them more comfortable or entertain them. If they can come up with that, it can become a material reality or a virtual reality that actually helps people get around, like GPS and those kind of things. These guys are hard, these descriptions of political systems for dealing with economics, capitalism, socialism, and communism are predicated on ideas that were farcical at the time, much less capable of describing the market system that we live in as humans, with a combination of regulated market things, making certain things at a fixed price because without it, people will act on it and create a lot of fraud and that kind of shit, and unregulated stuff because very few people want that shit and you can make whatever you want. There's a huge realm inside there that fits no ism. It's just how people interact based on how much I value my effort and how much you value your effort, to where you have earned some extra money and you've decided with that extra money, I'm going to buy some of your effort because I think it's worth it. None of that is capitalism. None of that is socialism. None of that is fucking communism. And it's certain, and the idea that these assholes are fighting back and forth over these fucking words, like it describes anything we actually live in now, I'm so fucking over it. It's infantile. And the fact that people will jump to defend these words when they don't even stand for what you think they stand for. When these guys are talking about capitalism, they're not talking about the same kind of capitalism that Biden mentioned last night or that you and I are talking about. And when they talk about socialism, what they mean is, why do American voters who fought a revolutionary war so that they would have representation in their taxation, which you didn't have before when you had a king, say at some point, we think there ought to be some money that we can set aside for people who are physically ill or overwhelmed at a certain point or at a certain age, run out of their ability to produce for themselves, and rather us individually, all of us having to go door to door, knocking on every fucking house in these, in cities with 7 million people in them to make sure that old people aren't dying of cat food poisoning, that the government we can all pool our money and have an administrator make sure that enough of it gets out. And then we have to have somebody to watch the administrator and audit that so that they don't steal from it and that kind of shit. And then those systems grow over time so that they're more effective or they serve more people. And it's not socialism. Never was. It's democratic taxation. We, as Americans, prioritize some things over others. That's it. Kings and monarchs and autocrats and fucking Genghis Khan and all these people took taxes forever. It was always a part of a ruling leader in a country. They always took taxes. You just didn't have a say in where it went. And so at one point, because of how Russia was run with a czar, much like a king, a Caesar, the people just decided, we have no say, so we should have all the say. But the problem was, once they decided everybody should have all the say, minus any hierarchical structure, they had to build one from scratch, and they weren't ready for it. They tried to jump from one thing to the other. We did too, but our country, the people who were here, were away from the country, so they couldn't keep an eye on us all the fucking time. We were too far away, and the ships at that time took months. That was it. The king took taxes. He built roads with it. He quartered soldiers and shoot horses and all kinds of stuff. He just didn't have a say. He decided. And if that wasn't what is that, unisocialism then? Because he could choose where to spend the taxes? It's just, like, it's so aggravating. It's just so fucking lazy. And these assholes use it as a boogeyman. I mean, people like Richard Wolff use capitalism as a fucking boogeyman too. They're not leaving. They're not living under it. They've all got investments in fucking IRAs and 401ks and all that kind of shit and investment portfolios and stuff like that. They'll decry what they call capitalism, and talk about it like it's serfdom and fucking fiefdom, and talk about like co-ops at work, and that's how businesses should run. Nobody at the printing press gets to say what the fuck is in Richard Wolff's fucking books, because it's a fucking show. You make an effort. If people like your effort, they can pay you for that effort with their extra money that they've made through their own effort. It's not fucking complicated at that point. The ism part comes in when you're just realizing how many people out there have a lot of effort to give and a lot of effort to bring to the table. And the isms are there to fucking manipulate them. That's it. Fucking Fiefdom is a great metal band. I agree. Anyways, how does this asshole finish up? Sorry, I got on a rant.
You know, it's the people, not higher taxes on a few people, not through government controls of energy industry.
He wrote this down. He's like, I've got to write my own answer to these things.
Industries or price controls or wage and job guarantees that enslave the few for the benefit of the many.
Yes, but Glenn is worried that he's going to be enslaved, tied to this desk with only a big plastic straw leading to Sonic and a little potty below him, and he can never leave.
That's not
it's like the librarian in Blade.
Not capitalism, sir. Although you said twice last night you're a capitalist, I don't think you even know what that means. It's another.
You explain it then, fucko.
Other C word, Constitution, capitalist.
Yeah, again.
That's socialism.
Also, if he's not a capitalist, what's socialist about taking bribes and buying a house in Rehoboth with Chinese money? I mean, come on, that's as capital as you get, right? What the fuck?
That's Marx, Mao, Hitler, Putin, Z. They each believed well-intended for their people.
No, they didn't.
But the path to hell. Your job as a public servant, it's
you fucker.
Singular and simple. To defend and protect the Constitution.
Defend your pecker.
So in the spirit of bipartisanship, sir.
Look at the two fucking videos. Look at this. Look at the two videos coming up. Machines taking our free will? ? Only one way to beat ESG. And Glenn's got the answer. Christ almighty, what a fucking gap. Honest to God, he's got 1 million subscribers. I mean, you can't argue with success, I suppose, if you're willing to sell your soul like this and bait people into, like, clickbait fear. Like the lying fucker you are. And by the way, never turns out to be true. Like, this is gibberish. Mao fucking Hitler. Get the fuck out of here.
Suck it up. Let's all hold hands. Let's finish that job.
We'll go to commercial. Yeah, he was, look at him. He's like, I nailed it. Yeah, fucking nailed it. Nobody better than me. I'm Glenn Beck. And I had my butt work done on national television. I'm not afraid of anyone. It's not going to happen, and you just got to get used to the idea. Yeah, for the record, I meant what I said about the isms. They are wholly inadequate to describe our current situation. It's why everybody's so fucking confused. And even like the Wall Street folks are like, normally in a bear market, normally in a bull market, normally like, motherfucker, we just had a pandemic. In a connected world, it's never been this connected before. If your ism isn't flexible enough to deal with reality, it's not an ism in the fucking first place. It's so aggravating. Ugh. All right. Anyways, love you guys. I wound myself the fuck up.